All right, so welcome today to the IIBA South Florida Chapter's educational monthly event. Today we welcome Dr. Bhuvan and Ukhelkar, and he will be speaking on designing a business analysis MBA level course. We'll start with introduction. From me, I am Randy Ennis, the president of the South Florida IIBA chapter. I'll be introducing Dr. Bhuvan and Ukhelkar. Then he will be speaking on today's topic. We'll follow that with a question and answer session, and then we'll have some closing remarks about the IIBA, about how to become a member or volunteer, our upcoming events, and how you can connect with us. If you have any questions during the event, please feel free to go into the chat box and ask any questions you might have. I'm going to collect them during the event, and we'll return to them during the Q&A session following Dr. Bhuvan's message. Dr. Bhuvan is an accomplished IT professional and professor of IT at the University of South Florida. He is also a founding consultant at Method Science and PlatFi with mastery in business analysis and requirements modeling, software engineering, big data strategies, agile processes, mobile business, and green IT. His domain experience is banking, financial, insurance, government, and telecommunications. Bhuvan is a thought leader and a prolific author of 25 books, including Artificial Intelligence and Business Optimization, Big Data Strategies for Agile Business, and The Art of Agile Practice. Recent Cutter executive reports include Psychology of Agile, Business Transformation, Collaborative Business and Enterprise, Agility, and Agile in Practice, a Composite Approach. He is a winner of the Computer World Object Developer Award, Consensus IT Professional Award, and IT Writer Award. He has a doctorate in the area of object orientation from the University of Technology, Sydney in 1997. He's also an adjunct professor at Western Sydney University and an honorary professor at Amity University in India. Bhuvan is a fellow of the Australian Computer Society, IIEE, senior member, life member of Computer Society of India, and Baroda Management Association, professional Scrum Master, SAFe Agile Leader, member of SDPS, past president of Rotary Sarasota Sunrise, and Paul Harris Fellow, Discovery Volunteer at NSW Parks and Wildlife, and a previous TIE mentor. And today, he will be speaking on designing a business analysis MBA course. And we're really happy to have Dr. Bhuvan not only speaking today, but also leading our BABAC study group course for those who are looking to be certified in the core IIBA certifications. So now I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Bhuvan. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Randy. I just thought I will put my video on just to let all my participants, my friends know how I look like before starting to share my presentation. I would also like to welcome all participants. Randy, thank you for the introduction. Sheena, Diana, Mufaro, Surya, Hildred, and then I don't know how to, what's the full form of AJB, but you're all welcome. And thank you for doing that. It may sound a little bit funny, but you heard a lot of Australia in my resume, in my introduction that Randy very kindly read out. I am right now sitting in Sydney, Australia on my sabbatical, and I'll be here almost till our summertime, working on a book and a couple of research papers. But I am a practitioner and I have done a lot of hands-on work. So I'll bring some of that in this particular presentation. The idea is to equip the students with skills and competencies that will make them successful in real life, in practice. Although as a university, we are responsible for updating their knowledge, but their hands-on skills are equally important. So welcome again, everyone. I'm going to now share my screen. I am planning to speak for about 40 odd minutes. I'm presuming that's okay, Randy. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. I will also monitor. Thank you. I will also monitor the chat. Randy can also monitor the chat. And if you have any questions, I can answer them during or just after my presentation. So that's the plan for today, developing a business analysis course. And I will take the privilege of adding a few more points to my introduction, then take you through why I developed this course. And obviously, one important thing I have to do in my university is to tell the students that this is not analytics, although analytics is equally important. And we actually in IIBA, we have a certification in analytics. But this is business analysis, starting with requirements, modeling, and so on. Those of us who are interested in the pedagogical part, I have some material over there as well. And then if time permits and if it makes sense, I will chat a little bit on what I have produced, which is CAMS or Composite, Agile, Method, and Strategy. So these are my areas of interest. And of course, I started my serious academic work with my PhD in object-oriented design area. And I have some wonderful friends who used to be my PhD student. In fact, we just had a dinner last night with all the doctors in court. These are some of my books. In fact, this is my latest book that was, both were written during COVID times. And Big Data Strategy for Agile Business is a flagship book as well. And I have drawn some material from it. By the way, my books are freely available to all my students through a wonderful program, textbook adoption program at USF. Not that I make any money out of this, but this one is Art of Agile Practice. And I think business analysis is more of an art form rather than just a set of techniques. And software modeling, of course, forever important. And the requirements modeling part. These are some of my other works. Just for your information, this is very important as well. And I am trying to teach my students a little bit of the relationship between business analysis and EA. I do a lot of writing for Qatar, and this is actually the title of my current book that I'm working on. And I wrote a long time back, actually, almost 8-9 years, maybe even more, a series of updates. And this one is quite relevant. And of course, there's a lot of material that I'm ready to share, including all the slides over here that I'll send to Randy for distribution. But this particular update contained a lot of thoughts around what I'm presenting even now. I'm interested in green IT and environmentally responsible business strategies. And of course, the overlay of Agile on all of these activities. And this is obviously not the first time that I'm presenting at IIBA, and not just at my chapter, which is South Florida, but did a bit of work with the Birmingham people as well. And last year we had this big business analysis day, and I was delighted to have participated, and I plan to do that this year as well. And look at that, that's our wonderful president, Randy, who just now introduced me. Thank you, Randy. And we did a study program last year, and that was the first time we did it to prepare our participants for the much coveted CBAP certification. And all of this experience has flowed into the course that I have put together. These are my research interests in case any one of you is interested in that aspect of my work, especially AI and business optimization and environment. So why should I put a course together, and why should my dean approve that course? And so this is not a picture I have created, but I have probably used it for almost 20 years. So starting of year 2000. And some of you have probably come across it, but isn't it interesting that everything that we really are talking about, by the way, let me see if I can move this. Yeah, let me just move this down here somewhere. I wish it would go away. So everything we do in business, in any real life project, really deals with the keyword communication. So this is how the customer explained, the project leader understood, the systems analyst designed, the programmer coded, the business consultant described it. What is it? This is, I think, the project was documented and so on, build. But I find this last one, what the customer really wanted, quite fascinating. And I actually relate it to how the customer explained, which means even if the customer explains it with a lot of passion and enthusiasm and precision, it may not be what the customer actually wants. And business analysis is skills and competencies that primarily start with understanding actually what the customer, the user, the stakeholder want. And another key reason why I would want all my students, particularly my MBA students, equipped with these skills is because they are all going to walk out of the university and walk into projects. And although there are many more researches around project failures, but if I have to quote just the Standish group, and this is not a very old data, this actually is a paper or a report, again Standish group, and there they are saying only 16% projects are succeeding. So these are projects failing, and then there are projects that are in difficulty, which is costing us, you and I, a lot. This is US data. So that's one key reason I want my students to understand the skills that I'm trying to share with them. Again, I have provided references for some of the material that I have taken from various sources. But if we look at successful IT projects, then users are involved. That's the topmost reason. And guess what business analysts do? First and foremost, they establish rapport with the users, the stakeholders. Management support, look at this, a clear statement of requirements. I have got brilliant students who can write Python, R, and Java, and who have dreams in their eyes of, coming up with another Google. But do they know how to write requirements? Do they know how to read requirements? Do they know how to plan and how to expect changes to the plans? So all these factors are important for success of IT projects and overall any projects, in my opinion. And therefore, corresponding 5 factors on why projects are in trouble: lack of user input, incomplete requirements, changing requirements, which will happen no matter what, but are we equipped to handle the changes in requirements? And although this is very important, but see, this is coming last in the list of indicators for project failure. And when it is a total failure rather than simply in trouble, you can see this list, and practically 8 out of these 10 are factors that business analysis skill sets can handle. So if the technical brilliance of students or the management, planning, administrative brilliance of students is coupled with business analysis skills, then they are likely to succeed even more in practice. So that is why I have put this course together. We don't have a course that is specifically business analysis, and therefore my dean at the University of South Florida and the school chair director are both very happy for me to put this together. Now, if I have to teach business analysis, what is it that I'm going to teach? So it is not just analysis in a very pedantic sense, but also synthesis and how to see the whole project in the context of the organization in a holistic manner. Now, as I said in the introduction, it's important for me to tell my students that this is not analytics, which doesn't mean analytics is any less important. It is just that the skill sets and competencies are different, complementary, but different. So we do want them to know how to break things down into smaller parts in order to understand them, put them together, and look at them in a holistic manner. So we are obviously going to use some of the flagship BABOK skills and competencies, the various techniques. In fact, there are 50 techniques now, and those are all very helpful in learning how to break a problem down into its elements. But then there are some techniques and some competencies within BABOK itself that help the students view, and participants and practitioners and consultants view the problem in a in a unique way. So complexity requires breaking the problem down, and the reason why it is complex is because the context changes, whereas synthesis is putting the things together down and viewing the solution through these two aspects, structurally through synthesis and how it is moving. So in one sense, I have tried to bring all three aspects, analysis, synthesis, and holistic, together in my course. And this is what really, in my understanding, successful projects will be. First, you understand the problem, and we've got techniques to do that, break it down, put it together, not only structurally, but also dynamically, including the context, and then send it out, operationalize. So some of us who are into developing training material and courses know that this is a good old taxonomy that is very, very popular, and most courses, especially at school level. So I'm not even saying undergrad, right at school level, primary, secondary, high secondary, middle, they use Bloom's taxonomy. Now, in my university, luckily, I have all the freedom to do what I want to do in terms of putting the course together. But we do have a requirement to present courses that are AACSB compliant. So I had kept this taxonomy in mind. I had actually kept three things: this one, CFIA, and BABOK, of course, to make sure that my course is holistic and compliant as well. So I like this, but I modify it quite a bit. So I want to ensure my students remember the techniques, understand what those techniques mean. For example, mind mapping. What is mind map? So they'll remember it. Then they will understand, okay, this really is not just a diagram. It actually means a lot when we connect the bubbles or the balloons in a mind map. Then they learn how to apply that particular technique or that particular mind map in real life situation. Then they sit back and are able to read the mind map, analyze it, analyze the real life situation in which that particular technique is being applied, then evaluate, and then are able to create things on their own. So you can see that, my synthesis actually is a higher level Bloom's taxonomy requirement. The other thing I had to keep in mind is that if I have got a higher level, say, evaluate in my course learning objectives, then my module learning objectives should be lower than the course learning objectives. So those kind of things were kept in mind. We are supported by a couple of excellent learning design in innovative education people. Angelica, Angie, and Greg are supporting me, but they also support other academics, other professors in putting online courses together. But this is not their slide, but this is something else that I had kept in mind. Multiple means of representation for students, multiple actions and expressions, and multiple means of engagement, which is how I designed my assessment tasks as well. Now, I do want to mention CFIA because this is an important framework, especially when it comes to IT projects, information age projects. And the framework, I know this is not a very readable slide, but you will find, if you visit the site, that you will find now some 100+ skills listed. And those skills have a matrix. So over here on the column side, there are 7 levels. And then these are the competent skills, I would say. And they are in various groups. So strategy, development and implementation, delivery and people and skills, and relationships, and so on. So it is a worthwhile framework, keeping in mind both for practitioners and of course for theoreticians, academics. And they have all these 100+ skill sets. And I have used the earlier version. This is CFIA 8 now. I've used 7 in even my authoring work, and I have brought some of those skills in my training, in my education course, business analysis course that I'm sharing with you. So if we look at the themes again, we find that these themes are absolutely relevant in today's real life projects. And then there are additional themes, including AI, IoT, RPA. Again, business analysts are going to be increasingly involved in RPA, if not already. And of course, how to update and train users in using the skills. So those are the themes that I find highly relevant. This is the work that I have done in mapping the various skills and competencies that students at various levels need, and practitioners. And you can see that some of them are, non-functional requirements, quality assurance, user training. So I find that my course at MBA level is going to equip students, especially those who are experienced. And we do get students with a few years of experience in the industry, even if it may not be directly related to, say, IT projects, but still students are experienced. And therefore, my goal is to make sure that they perform well at around level 3-4. So again, this is coming out of my big data book, where I had talked about business skills required in big data and agility. And these are, of course, up on top, business analysis itself as a skill, Although when you and I talk from an IIBA perspective, it includes many things such as requirements, user experience, problem management. This is not core right now for us, but is going to happen soon. Business process testing, business process modeling, business modeling, and so on. These two slides, one is technical and the other is governance. I just kept here as a reference. And then, of course, our wonderful BABOK and how I am including that in my course. Of course, the course itself is not yet even recognized as something that will work for the 35 hours we need to appear in CBAP exam or the other exams of IIBA. But the core concepts are very relevant in teaching the students how to undertake business analysis. So, for example, the students learn that value is most important as compared to going through the motions of completing a project. Now, I also teach Agile project management to my students at MBA level, and that course has been going well for last few years now. And the focus there is also value. And the best way to explain what is value is making sure that the users, the stakeholders, are able to perform, undertake their tasks in the best possible way, even if I, as a provider, have not completed or checklisted all the tasks. A simple example is when I'm presenting this course, my goal is not to go through all the slides, but to make sure that you get value. So then there are others like, how to capture the needs and the universal difference between needs and wants. If we leave it entirely up to the users in the opening slide, the icebreaker, where I said what the user described, what the customer described, and what the customer actually wanted are two different things. And we have to differentiate between what they really need and what they just want. Change management is integral. Students need to learn that. Identifying stakeholders, evaluating stakeholders, maintaining close contact with them, in which context the solution is being put together, and then the solution, really, value comes at the top and solutions come. This is not a value judgment. It is just that the relevance and the importance of value is extremely high when we are doing business analysis. Again, not my slide, I have referenced from where I have taken, but I think this information is invaluable for somebody who is trying to learn how to do business analysis. This also I have referenced. I know this is an IIBA presentation, but it's my habit to acknowledge from wherever I have taken the stuff. And I think this competency model encompasses the entire BABOK 3.0. And President Randy talked about us doing the workshops. I have done that last year. We plan to do it this year. We cover every aspect of this particular competency model. So, of course, the knowledge areas are massive and require a lot of effort to learn. But when we do it in a workshop format, it becomes much easier. You can see elicitation, strategy analysis, planning and monitoring requirements, which is where UML and use cases and activity graphs and sequence diagrams come into play. And then, of course, we have got these various areas, agile perspectives, and the underlying competencies, and 50 odd techniques. So how much of this I can use? Well, it depends on how I am already in touch with people from the IIBA in terms of getting their permissions and so on to be able to use this. Now, Okay, I'll go through the chats again. Tejas, thank you for asking a question. Can we get a copy of the slide deck? Absolutely. Randy is going to distribute that. And this is my view, my summarized view of the competency model. So this really covers entire BABOK 3.0. This last layer is just examples, not the comprehensive list. So now what have I done in terms of my course? So here is some material from my syllabus, and the syllabus is also publicly available. So when I share the slides with Randy for distribution, I will also share the syllabus that I have created, and that is almost being approved. There will be a few changes, of course. So I am inviting my students to understand business analysis and its relevance to agility. I have not set any prereqs. These are my management students. These are my senior students. At this stage, this is not a core course. This is an elective. So there is a slight competition in order to attract students. And I say slight because in academia, we are not supposedly not that competitive. At least I am not. So what am I really asking the students to learn is how to capture requirements, manage stakeholders, and enhance the quality of everything that gets produced. And then I have to keep telling my students that if you are looking for linear regression, a random forest, all those wonderful analytical techniques, data analytics techniques, then you will have to do another course. And of course, I mentioned that here in this course, but this course does not focus on those important techniques. So the purpose is what? Business analysis. And we are very big in my university on critical thinking. In fact, critical thinking is put in poster forms everywhere in all classrooms and even in the restrooms and the corridors. So critical thinking is quite valued, and it means a lot, and it means different things to different people. But in my course, through the various techniques, through the BABOK, through the CFIA, I am encouraging students to learn and undertake critical thinking. And of course, I want my students to learn BABOK, but not the way I present in the professional workshop. This is academic work. And also, hopefully, clear their CBAP if they can. Not a main goal of this course right now. So what is it that the students will achieve? Learning objectives. By the way, these are all compliant with the AACSB format, which means, I need to use words that eventually can be evaluated. So you notice that I have not used understand, because understand is a verb that cannot be measured. Although in my humble opinion, some of these other verbs are also not very easy to measure, but they are still there, compliant with the certification, the accreditation requirements. So I will explain the profession of business analysis. I will ask my students to undertake needs analysis in an iterative and incremental manner. We will be using UML, the problem space techniques, not necessarily, for example, we will draw a class diagram at a business level, but not at a programming level. Then I would want my students to know what is BABOK 3.0, but I cannot force them to become IIBA members. That will be unfair from a university viewpoint. And also, there are so many other competencies and skill sets that I am introducing that are not in BABOK, but hopefully one day BABOK 4.0 might have them. In fact, another dear friend of mine who is a top-notch consultant from Sarasota, Steve Blias, he and I are working on another book, which may be, in fact, from what I'm told, will be published by IIBA, and it's all on transforming business analysis to the digital age. So that's that will contain many skills and competencies that may right now not be in BABOK, although BABOK covers 90% right now of what I would like to present to my students. Communicate, negotiate, elicitate both functional and non-functional. And although usability is receiving heavy focus, it is still, in my opinion, it non-functional and usability overlap each other, not entirely, but quite a bit. And demonstrate the applicability of business analysis. And this is interesting. This is challenging also, because my students have a bit of a problem, if you like, in undertaking teamwork. And I have a bit of a problem, if you like, in managing this assessment task. But this is so crucial, so important. So I do push for it. So here are my assessment tasks. And again, from the accreditation viewpoint and from my own satisfaction viewpoint, I have to assess my students in multiple ways, more ways than one, typically 3 ways. So I have got discussion questions spread throughout the semester, the team project that I talked to you about, and in which they will submit a report and do a presentation. And then there are 2 quizzes. And these are, of course, these are instructions to my students, but I kept them here to give you a good idea of how my course is being structured. So the discussion questions are every other week. That totally they are 6, so 3 before and 3 after the midterm break. I won't trouble you with reading all this out, but really what happens is, this is an online course, and we present it through Canvas, which is the most popular right now online learning system. And I mean, in my case, I don't have to worry about going around selecting the online learning system, because there are others like Moodle and a few others are available. But University of South Florida has gone for Canvas, and ever since I started presenting at USF, I'm using Canvas, in which I post a discussion question, and I get, in the other courses that I teach, I can get large number of students, anywhere between 30 to 60, and sometimes 1 or 2 more students want to come in. This is management class, graduate class. So when we have a discussion session, I first post a question, and I ask students to make their posts. Let's say I open up the module, each module on Sunday, and the students will go through it. And on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they will go through it, and then they will answer the question by Wednesday night. And then, in fact, this is for, so they have more time than just 3 days actually. So previous week they have studied, but they have to post by Wednesday night. And then only they can see what other students have posted, their fellow students. So if I have a class of, say, 40 students, then there will be few who will be lagging, but otherwise there'll be about 25 to 30 posts already, and students will read, sorry, I should be here, and students will read 1 or 2 posts, not many, and pass a counter comment. And that's my strategy for teaching learning. Then the team project, in which they have to collaborate and prepare a report on what? Well, I give them a case study, they work through the case study, and then they do, in this case, business analysis work, which is identify the stakeholders, evaluate them, capture the requirements of a hypothetical project. I don't think I can make them do a real project, because that will require other competencies such as programming. But I do want them to present if it is an online course and if I have got large number of students, it becomes impossible to attend the presentations, face to or online or live. So I get them to do a voice over and then submit their presentation. I also insist on no theory such as, what is business analysis, what is agile, what is project management, what is critical thinking. No, you actually do present what you have done in real life or as a real life. I pulled a few case studies from my Agile book, and the students are given one of those 3 or 4 case studies. So I've got a hospital management system, airline booking system, insurance management system, and 1 or 2 more. By the way, all of you are welcome to ask for those case studies. I can make them available very easily, very happily. And then, of course, they have to collaborate and present at the end. And I put some points there, marks, we call them here in Australia, but points in US, and the quiz. And the quiz is really, the structure of the quiz is more or less what a person appearing in CBAP will face. And then I ask them to keep checking the schedule. So then I encourage them, and I have already done that in my Agile project management course. I asked, first of all, I explained to them that I'm not putting any grade points against their professional certifications, but I want them to appreciate the fact that it will boost their career. And I'm sure those of us who are practitioners know how important these certifications are. And I know, and I have pushed many of my students who have been successfully employed all around the US, including on the West Coast and including with the agency. I've got students who go to FBI and tell me that, oh, professor, we won't be able to contact you for a while now because we are going away. And I say, good luck. So these certifications, in my opinion, are quite important, but it's not an official requirement for the course. But I do tell my students, hey, you are almost double dipping. And you can't go beyond these certification for business analysis. So if I got students who have, 4, 5, 6 years of experience, maybe a bit more, because not all of it is business analysis experience, then I encourage them to try for CBAP, or would be encouraging them. In the past, I have tried that, but elsewhere. Otherwise, I think these two will work well. These for somebody who is, I get quite a few vets who have done their tour of duty and have come back home and are transitioning to a civil life. I also get very interesting seniors from seniors in terms of age and life, and they want to learn a few more skills for whatever they are doing. And then all my younger folks are really ready for this because it doesn't require experience, whereas CBAP, appearing in CBAP, does require experience. So, and then, although I want to clarify, I'm not getting any commission from anybody. I'm a university professor, but I do find Viz Labs doing a good job. And there's also watermark learning that Randy has got for our workshop participants. And the questions, the format is really something like this: select 1 out of 4. And that's what happens even with the CBAP exam. And here is the answer. And, students can evaluate themselves just to see how well they have done through the trial exams. I'm going to put my own questions together. I'm planning for roughly 40 questions per midterm and final, but I just need to make sure that the spread of marks or points in the questions are in balance. There are other certifications that students can appear because they will have picked up quite a few skills during this course, but they will need a few more that I don't present here, but in my Agile project management course. So if I have a student who has done both Agile project management and this course, I think they will be set for at least 5 and perhaps 10 years in the industry. Of course, they have to keep it all current, like us keeping CBAP current. And okay, PSM1, I have done that. And I think I am almost out of time. So I had kept these as backup composite agile method and strategic camps, but maybe I will talk about it some other time. I do mention it a few times whenever I'm presenting. CAMS is important in the context of agility and BABOK. This is my view of CAMS, how to distribute agile principles for customers, developers, managers, and architects. This is, balancing planned methods with agile, which I think is super important in practice. This is my variation of the Agile manifesto. Instead of saying this over that, this is of course a typical Kanban, and I at times explain how it works. This is my balancing act. By the way, there is a chat. Let me just have a look. Oh, Tejas, right. Yes, Tejas, I'll be making sure you get everything. I think business analysis together with Agile is really all about the mindset. And so what I've done is, in fact, in the current book that I'm working on, The Psychology of Agile, I have used this balancing act, plan versus Agile. The thing is that this is a bar in the mind of the leader, the Scrum Master, the product owner, the project manager, the person who is the leader. So in composite agile, I encourage them to keep moving this bar, because there is no such thing as pure agile. It may be for an exam, for a certification, for those who are super passionate about it. In my practice, there is no such thing as pure agile method or pure planned method. So when my students are becoming business analysts and walking into real life projects, I want them to keep in mind that this is going to vary. This is going to move left and right. Flexibility versus rigidity. And of course, something I should not talk about. This is my big data framework for agile business, but I spent 3 years producing this. So I just felt like showing it to you all. So I have presented to you the idea that a project success depends on business analysis. In my opinion, my MBA students need those skills. I talked about CFIA, but I have based the course on CFIA and on BABOK, and my students, once they finish this course, will be almost ready to appear in CBAP, of course, EEC, ECBA, and other exams also. Today, I'm told from the people in the industry that CBAP certification is highly coveted, highly desired, and getting increasingly challenging. So let us hope that more and more people achieve CBAP, and my course is certainly a contribution towards it. So I am available on both these email addresses. And of course, I welcome you to connect with me on LinkedIn. The slides will all be available. I'm going to now stop sharing and come to you guys. And here I am. And I am happy to answer your questions or comments. Randy has her hands up there. There you go, Randy, please.
Thank you. That was great, Bhuvan. Thank you so much. I guess I can start off. I'm sure others may have some questions. So the first question I'll ask is, within your syllabus and your outline of different topics, business analysis topics, are there any particulars that you think are most valuable in terms of in the field, and as we all are considering projects and the success of those projects that you've maybe found to be key in your experience in the field?
Yes. So I have about 13 or 14 modules, which are all available in the course syllabus. I just didn't read them out. There are techniques I'm presenting, including, mind maps and activity diagrams and business process models and stakeholder evaluation and testing, quality assurance, and so on. Now, most of my students who will be finishing now, that is in the next year or two, in fact, next year, I should say, because the course itself will be over within a year and a half, 2 years, they will be walking into projects that will deal with data. And even students who walk into a hospital or a construction industry site. So I'm using these examples because typically a student will walk into a bank or a insurance or a financial company. And I mean, I have 5-6 years of Dow Jones experience, and I have worked in Rabobank to help them transition to Agile and all those things, and Westpac here. But my students should be able to focus on, understand, and provide value to stakeholders. I mean, right now in this presentation, you are all my stakeholders. So I can go on speaking, close my eyes, go through all the slides, not bother whether I have provided value to you, and I have done poor business analysis. On the other hand, I have made sure all my participants are welcome. I address them, including you. I focus on, questions, comments, chat, and I try to see that you're getting value. Now, that is a skill set, a competency that is very difficult, in my opinion, to teach as such, because it's not a formula. Teaching Python or MongoDB or any of these programming skills is easier. I'm not saying easy, is easier compared to teaching stakeholder management. So to answer your very important question, I want them to learn various skill sets that will, those are all soft skills, very difficult to measure, very difficult to put as key performance indicators, to put as metrics, and yet they are super important in my opinion. And immediately after that would be change management, because we consider change management in PMBOK, for example, or even in BABOK. Managing change is a set of steps, and that's not how it happens. So yes, so those are my answers. I have a few more chats. Y Brown. This is an amazing, informative workshop filled with so much information. Thank you. Well, thanks to you for joining in. President Randy was, telling everyone to come along, and we had 30 plus people registered, and 1/3 have shown up, and I'm very happy for that. And I'm happy for those who could not make it to watch the presentation, give me some feedback and so on. Thank you, Tejas. Yes, Tejas, you can connect with me separately if you want, and I will be very, very happy to answer all your questions. You have my email address, my first name dot last name, bhuvan.unhelkar@gmail.com. And I'm the only Bhuvan Unhelkar on LinkedIn. How nice is that? Yes, I will help you with CFIA and all that. Yeah, not a problem. Anyone else? Any other questions? Mufaro, yes. What do you consider to be the most important skill set for a business, for business analysis? And that's more or less what Randy was also asking. And I think stakeholder management as one, a keyword, a label, stakeholder management is most important, because it is continuously changing. It's dynamic. If I have to provide value to a stakeholder, I have to know who the stakeholder is, and you don't know. a person by applying a formula to them. So you have to figure out the context in which a stakeholder is working. What this project, let's say, you know, um, the hotel management industry in Florida, which is one of the key industry other than hospitals, but hotel management is continuously challenged in terms of making predictions in terms of what will be the hotel occupancy rate. Should we be going for permanent staff versus contract staff versus completely part-time staff? All those balancing acts can be supported by a solution which has lots of data and good analytics. So if my student is finishing his or her MBA and going into the industry of hospital, hotel industry, I'm now, so if they are going in hospitality, that was the word I was looking for, they should find out who are the stakeholders for which a solution is being built. And BayBock has phenomenal amount of material on stakeholders and stakeholder evaluation and so on. And then throughout the development of the solution, the stakeholder will change their requirements, their values will change, their expectations will change. So it's change management. And then more often than not, the person who specified the requirement, the person who put the project together, quits the job and goes elsewhere. And that's where business analysis skills, stakeholder management comes into play. So I would consider that as really a very important skill, and really a skill that is difficult to teach, and that is lacking in good technical people. And I plan to do that through the discussion questions and through the team project in which they have to collaborate with each other. And then finally, when they present, they will present to me as their key stakeholder or the board that has approved the project. And that's my general format for teaching anything at the graduate level. At undergrad level, the things change quite a bit because they are not focusing on people skills for most part. The students are learning core programming, core database, core testing, but not worried about stakeholders, change management, values. Therefore, this particular course, business analysis, is ideally focused at graduate level. Yes, Mufaro, thank you. You say I like the diagrams and change is about people. And I'm sure all of us who are experienced, those who are online right now and those who are going to watch this recording, we are all people who are dealing with people. The more experienced we are, the more it becomes people management. So yes, and you will get all the slides through Randy. I will first send it to her and ask her to share. And yes, Tejas is right. Stakeholder management is the same as baseline on BayBock. It's everywhere, in fact. Yes. Oh, yes. All right, Randy, over to you. Thank you again to Sheena, Diana, Mufaro, Surya, Hildred, AJB, Y Brown, and Tejas. Over to you.